a 1916 International Titan tractor, and it's one of 3,000 that was bought over during the First World War to help the war effort on a lease land scheme from America. It's 20 horsepower, but it only develops 20 horsepower on the belt. On the drawbar pulling, it only has 10 horsepower because it uses the other 10 to just move itself along. It's a 2-cylinder paraffin engine. It starts on petrol, and when it's warm it runs on paraffin. It's got a novel thing, it injects water into the engine as it's running to stop it pinking, because in 1916 paraffin fuel was so poor, it was like a lamp oil, that they couldn't stop this pinking problem, and somebody let on the idea of spraying water in while it was running to stop it. I'll show you a few points around it if you like. This water tank, it doesn't have a radiator, it just holds 30 gallons of water and it circulates, and the idea is that it never gets that hot. By the time it's sort of circulated around 30 gallons, you know, it's sort of cooled. This is its paraffin tank. The carburettor isn't like a modern carburettor, they don't have a float chamber in. So what it does, it constantly circulates its paraffin. It pumps up into the carburettor and then back down an overflow on a constant return sort of idea. This is the belt pulley, and this is the pulley clutch. To operate it, you pull it out like so that the pulley's free for running machinery, etc. But the problem is you have to catch hold of this while it's going, so it's not very user friendly. This is its oiler. In 1916 it was the latest in technology. It oiled itself while it was going, and the oiler oils the big ends, the main bearings and the pistons. In 1916 magnetos weren't technically advanced enough to be able to throw a fat spark out when they were slowly rotating. So what it has on is an impulse starter, which is this. And the idea is it holds the rotation of the magneto back on a spring on this cam, and when it gets to a certain point it trips it and spins it fast, which gives you the spark to start it. And once it's going, this little thing lifts back up and it cuts up off the spring loaded part of it, and it just runs like normally. The tank for the water feed to the carburettor, and because the water circulates on convection, you have to wait 10 minutes for it to rise in here to fill the header tank up before you can use the water injection. This is the carburettor, although as such it's very crude. It only basically has one large jet in that's adjustable, and all the time that you drive it you have to keep adjusting all the jets and everything. This is the advancing retard for the magneto, so when the engine slows down and works heavier it starts to pink, so you have to retard the spark. This is the decompressor to start it. Basically it works like a steam engine, it's 2 drain cocks underneath the cylinders, and to start it you have to release the compression because it's got such a compression you can't physically turn the engine over. This is the air filter, and what it filters through is sheep's wool. And at the end of every day you have to take the sheep's wool out and shake the dirt off it and then put it back in. And because it runs on paraffin, the fuel has to vaporise, it's not like petrol. So what it does, it sucks hot air off the exhaust into the carburettor through this plate down here, and it sucks it up into the air cleaner. But here we have an air valve, and what we do when the engine's cold, we shut the air valve and it sucks air directly off the exhaust pipe, so it's hot. And you then wait until you can just bear your hand on the air cleaner, and then you open it up and let cold air in, just enough to keep the air cleaner always at the point where you can just bear your hand on it. Explain a few things about its controls. It's basically very basic. It's got 3 gears, 1 reverse and 2 forwards. It does 1 mile an hour in bottom gear and 2 miles an hour in top gear. It's got a hand clutch and a brake, and that's about it for the controls. The petrol's in this little reservoir here that just holds a pint. Then you set the governors, which is this handle here, to nearly flat out. You retard the ignition, put the choke on, you set the petrol to paraffin changeover lever to run on petrol. You set the needle valve to about a quarter. You open the decompressor, you give the oiler about 30 turns to fill all the bearings and pistons full of oil. We have to go around the other side. And the fuel pump with this lever here. And then hopefully it should start. Wind away.